Hello everybody, and welcome to Pravus Gaming and Democracy 3 Africa, playing as Egypt. So last video we did a few things. We've kind of inherited a train wreck of a country right now that recently must have gone through some sort of military coup because the stability is atrocious, and we have done our best to get back on track without getting ourselves killed. I want to point out a problem. Some of you guys might notice it right away. Those of you who are very observant will notice that I have 57 political capital right now. And all I've done is reloaded the game from exactly where I left off last time. I haven't even clicked the next turn button. Yeah, that's definitely a bug. Because at the end of last video, I had 3 political capital, and now I got 57? Like, no. It added my leader capital. I think, is that what it does? It added my leader capital onto the 3 that I already had? I feel like that's actually too much of a coincidence to be anything other than that. By the way, notice that our minister, our cabinet, is making us practically 0 political capital right now because our leader capital is so high. Yeah, that's because our dictatorship is extremely high right now. So therefore, our minister is kind of irrelevant to us because it doesn't matter how much they like us. They're not producing pretty much any capital at all, so something to consider there. But anyway, yeah, so that's an interesting bug. So it's like it gave me a whole nother turn. Let's click the next turn button and sort of see what happens. So right now I have 57, and I'm about to have... Well, let's deal with this first. Oil drilling opportunity. We're going to allow the drilling. I don't even have to read it. Drill, baby, drill. As someone named Sarah Palin probably once said once upon a time. All right, so now we have 78. Is that our capital? Our cap? It might be our cap. Doesn't say we have a maximum amount of capital allowed. We just gained 21. Why? Why did we just gain 21? Also, these guys just shifted a lot for some reason. Holy crap. I don't understand why we have 78. We shouldn't. That doesn't make sense to me. You know what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and quit to the main menu, reload with my save, and we're going to try something. We're going to spend most of this capital. We're going to spend, like, all of it up. How about foreign aid? We're going to pass it, and then we're going to go to foreign aid, or was it, maybe it was import tariffs, actually. Maybe it was import tariffs. I didn't actually pay that much attention. Where's the thing with the ship icon? That is what we did, right? Yes, foreign aid. Cancel the policy. That costs us 16 political capital. We're going to spend a lot of it to try and go back to where we were before. I don't think I can do that again and have the same sort of results. What if we go to the capital gains tax? We'll pass it, and then we'll cancel it. And that gets us to 5. Close enough. So that's about where we were last time. This is going to get really tedious very quickly, isn't it? Let's press next turn and see what happens. There's the oil drilling opportunity again. We'll allow the drilling. And now we're at 78 again. Okay, so now we have our... What? Okay, so now we're generating 50, and our minister is generating 28. I'm confused. How does this system work exactly? So, okay, the way I'm seeing this is the minister... The cabinet generates 25 per turn, right? And they can have a maximum of 50... Currently, we have stockpiled 28 capital from my ministers on top of the 50 that I generate, and therefore we have 78. So when I spend political capital, what am I spending? Am I spending my minister's stockpile so we don't get up to the 50 cap? Or do I have to spend my 50 leader capital, and then I spend my minister capital? Is that where the hard cap comes? I'm actually not sure. We're going to find out. So we have 78 then. I guess that's somehow correct. So I guess the 57 corrected itself and went to 78. That's interesting. Maybe we're okay then. Maybe it's not an issue. Huh. Alright, well I guess we're just going to move forward. This is very frustrating to me because when I was first given this game by Positech Games, before the release date, they wanted to give me an opportunity to get some content out there and kind of review the game before it actually officially released. I did spend some time talking with the developer and saying, hey, I found this bug where it's generating political capital kind of randomly when you load a saved game. And I thought we had fixed that bug, but something is still happening that shouldn't be. I'm not sure what it is. I'm going to do my darndest to get back to where I should be so nobody can say that I'm cheating. But at some point, there's only so much I can do. All right, let's move on with what I had planned for this year. So, one of the first things I want to do is I want to reduce liberal membership. Now, liberals absolutely hate me. They are fanatically opposed to me currently, and they have 20% of the population. Well, not much I can do is going to change the fact that they absolutely despise me, except for, like, apparently LGBT rights, because, you know, there's the rainbow flag. That's all they care about is LGBT rights in this game for some reason. It's not entirely true, but it's a big part of it. Anyway, one of the best ways that I can make sure that people are not joining radical groups is just reducing their membership. And a good way to do that, then, would be to creationism versus evolution. There it is. We have talked about this in almost every single series I have done. I have said some things that some people would say is controversial. I think is just straight up fact. I've never said anything that I think is technically wrong. But here we are. I'm not going to talk about it today, though. We know what we're going to do, and that's creationism only, because, again, we are trying to establish a theocratic dictatorship. So that means we want to have a lot of religious people, and we're going to only teach creationism. So there we go. Liberalism membership will go down by 7%. Religious membership will increase by 30.76%. And we don't care how much the liberals hate us, because they're already down to 0. So making it worse doesn't necessarily change anything for me. Now, this is actually really good, because I think this is actually an effective strategy to try and protect yourself from assassination. Remember that every single voter can be a part of multiple different voter groups. So, for example, this liberal could also be middle income, environmentalist, and elderly, or something like that, right? So one of the alternatives is to find a particular group, like, let's say, religious, increase its membership up to 100% so that everyone, including the liberals, are religious. And that way, if the religious like you, then even though they are liberal religious, they are not inclined to assassinate you because you've pleased the religious so much. So if we have lots of conservatives, that solves a lot of our problems. If we make the entire population religious and the religious love me, I feel like we're going to be in pretty good shape. Even women, who make up 50% of the vote and currently are very unhappy because of gender inequality, as long as they're religious conservative women, then they're not going to want to kill me. So this might be actually a pretty solid defensive tactic, without even having to really crack down on kind of dictator, human rights violations 101. Why get involved in that? This might work. We're going to try it. So creationism only will do just fine. Other things that I want to do. I want to, let's see, stability? Stability is ticking up, and there's a few things still contributing to it. Health is a problem. Education's a problem, but we're working on that. Well, no, I take it back. Actually, I think that health and education... Well, no, wait. Yes, health and education are bad enough that it is reducing our stability. Crime and violent crime don't exist, so stability goes up. Okay, that all makes sense then. GDP... It's due to a lot of different things here. One of the things that's really bad in Egypt right now is our unemployment, and I know one good way to try and deal with some of that, and that would be compulsory work for the unemployed. Kind of like something Bill Clinton tried passing, something like this. If you're going to work, if you're going to collect government benefits, like unemployment benefits, then you have to do something, or at least prove that you're trying to get a job in order to collect welfare. In this case, it's just unemployment benefits. We're going to try to do this. It's usually pretty effective. So the poor and the socialists don't like it. But GDP does go up, middle income love it, capitalists like it, and unemployment goes down by 4%. That's not too bad. And it's not like it's hard work. If you're going to collect unemployment benefits, then the government expects to get a little bit of a return on its investment. Pick up the trash. That's all you have to do. It's not that bad. Once a week, go out, pick up some trash from the highway, and here's your unemployment check. Yeah, whatever. Okay, we're going to apply it anyway. I don't care what you think about it. This is my game. We're going to pass it. And the dictator stuff is really starting to go to my head, isn't it? We're going to pass it, and we're going to see what happens there. Other things that I'm worried about include things like education, which is pretty bad right now. What if we go to university grants? Yeah, right now we're only doing fees paid, which is pretty minor. If I were to max this out to generous grants, yes, it costs me a ton of money, another 11 billion pounds. And yes, by the way, I did find out that it is the Egyptian pound. That is the currency. So thank you to a commenter, and also thank you to Wikipedia. So anyway, the skill shortage will go down by another about 14% or so, 14.06%. That's pretty good. Education goes way up, and a lot of people are quite happy. And once the skill shortage is gone, if I want to reduce this down to grants for all in order to save some money, that's an option. but mostly we want to get rid of that skill shortage, and this is a good way to combat that, so let's do it. Perfect. All right. We are also especially worried about infrastructure right now because we have a couple of events that are impacted by our terrible infrastructure. Our railroad subsidies from last time are trying to make an impact. We'll see if that actually works or not. So let's go to our transportation. We could pass bus lanes. That's infrastructure, I think. Yeah, let's do it. So it's not too expensive, 1.21 pounds per quarter, billion pounds, I should say. The motorists hate it because they don't like that we're spending tax dollars on bus lanes. But the urban will be happy. Bus usage goes up, which means car usage goes down, which is good for the environment, and infrastructure goes up by 8.76%. I like it. Let's do it. I'm very decisive today, it turns out. Very decisive indeed. Something else we can do. I don't know, actually, let's take a look. None of these are appropriate right now. Some of these are good, but not appropriate right now. Some of these are expensive. Actually, here's something I like. Okay, this is something I don't think we talked about during our Ghana playthrough, but it's actually quite good, and I've tested this out in other playthroughs on my own time. Agricultural land tenure. Establish a regime of farmers owning the land that they work. This promotes development of the land and investment in farming infrastructure with a view to yielding a higher return over the long term. So what this is going to do then is it's not going to increase our infrastructure and our agricultural efficiency, both of which are quite good. For some reason, it upsets conservatives. I have no idea why it upsets conservatives, but it does. Also, urbanism goes down. Less people are moving to the cities and more out to the rural areas. That's going to be good because, as you may have noticed in my Ghana playthrough, once you get really high GDP, everyone migrates to the cities, and you have mass urbanization. Bad things seem to be happening from that. It's pretty unavoidable from what I have seen if you do have a very high GDP. So, meh. But we're going to try that, and I guess we'll have to move on to the next turn because we have 0 political capital left. A celebrity has died in prison. After violating a minor law, a popular performer has died whilst being held in prison. Members of the public have taken to the streets in protest, condemning the standard of our prisons. We could clamp down on them because civil unrest will not be tolerated. Or we could launch an inquiry because apparently maybe their basic human rights have been protected. No, I'm a dictator. We're gonna clamp down. That just makes sense. We'll clamp down on all of them. Oh, we also have a new event, a rail strike. Yeah, I knew this was gonna happen. I think this is just silly and hilarious, but okay. So the rail strike developed because a couple turns ago, we started developing Egypt's first railroads. And the moment we laid down the first set of track and we had railroad employees, guess what they all decided to do? Go on strike. I know, it's ridiculous. We literally have, just started building a railroad and they're on strike already. That said, the rail subsidies are still currently implementing, so this is going to start ticking down on its own no matter what. I don't think I actually have to touch any of this. It's just ridiculous to me that it immediately goes on strike, but whatever. That's just sort of how the game is built by default. Alright, more infrastructure. Last time we found out that toll roads kind of works. It can generate a bit of money for me. Motorists don't like it. But overall, I think it's not too bad. Traffic congestion, car usage, and all that stuff. Sure, why not? Let's raise a little bit of money and increase our infrastructure. I find that to be pretty good. We could also... Well, let's see. I did see technology grants. Yeah, that works. Technology grants is expensive, and we're going to be spending pretty much our entire surplus, but I think this is going to be good for us overall. So, here's the thing about technology grants, is that it reduces our religious membership. Now, you might be looking at that and saying, holy crap, that's terrible. Yeah, it's not good for us to that extent, but I'm pretty sure with creationism only, we are going to have so many religious people, we can afford to take this hit. And the benefits to our technology, our employment, our GDP, our productivity, these are all things that we can't really afford to ignore. So I'm willing to spend the money and lose some religious membership in the short term, which in the long term will get erased in order to gain these benefits. Absolutely worth it, in my professional opinion. And I am a professional. Alright, let's be honest. I'm pretty damn good at this game. I'm a professional. Speaking of religion, something we should consider is we do have religious persecution. Now, this is driven primarily because of racial tension, which is ticking down, actually, thanks to the minority representation measures. Our foreign relations are non-existent. That's kind of a big problem for us. Unemployment is bad enough that it's increasing racial tension, poverty, education. we should try to reduce racial tension a little bit more, and a good way to do that for us will actually be to use citizenship tests. This is a pretty good policy overall. Patriots like it. Liberals and ethnic minorities don't like it, but there are no ethnic minorities in Egypt. I will prove that in just a moment. Immigration goes down. One of the few times that immigration actually can be removed in your country. As we have experienced several times, immigration is kind of broken. Racial tension, though, goes down by 26.33%. That's really good. I think it is worth upsetting ethnic minorities a little bit in order to reduce racial tension. And the higher the racial tension is, the unhappier ethnic minorities are. So technically, by reducing racial tension, you're making ethnic minorities happy and upsetting them with the citizenship at the same time. It kind of ends up being a net wash for how much they're happy, and reducing racial tension is just straight up a good thing. So we're going to do this. It won't even cost us any money, because there are no ethnic minorities in this country. 0%. But hey, they're represented equally. Wait a minute. How do you have equality now? What do you mean? You don't have a threatening group. Equality now. Minimal. There should be no members. There are no ethnic minorities in Egypt. They all fled. Rightly so, a long time ago. Alright. Liberalism membership is still at 20%. I know one policy that might actually help. There are only a handful that actually do reduce liberalism. One of them is married tax allowance. Now, this is going to, again, cost us quite a bit of money. I'm a little worried about that. But religious and conservatives love it. Parents like it, and liberalism membership goes down by 6.68%. For a conservative society, and especially a religious conservative society, this is excellent. It just costs money. But we are going to give out straight-up tax advantages for people to get married and stay married. I love it. Let's move on to the next turn. Oh, wow. We got the egalitarian society. You've got to be kidding me. Okay, so apparently in Egypt, everyone is equal. I mean, we have terrible gender inequality, and I'd be surprised if income inequality is any good. But apparently, y'all can suffer equally in Egypt. Hooray! We also have opposition members persecuted. Democracy goes down, stability goes down, bad things happen across the board. This is because we have very, very low democracy and very high dictatorship, so negative events like that can happen. Alright, let's move on into the next turn. 69 political capitals. Somebody call Northern Lion, am I right? No, okay, fine. Why don't we go ahead and increase our religious membership a bit more? Maybe not. I was thinking that maybe we should do, like, school prayers or something. But that does tend to increase religious tension. I'm sorry, not religious. Racial tension a lot. So maybe we won't do that. Oh, wow. It's already ticking up really fast thanks to the married tax allowance. Also, Creationism versus evolution was supposed to take 30 turns to fully implement as far as the membership. Their happiness... Oh, wait. Am I looking at membership or am I looking at happiness? Oh, I'm sorry. Membership. There we go. So human development... Oh, okay. So this is something that some people would probably be offended by in this game. The idea that the lower human developments, the worse your health and your education and stuff, the more likely people will turn to religion. That's just something that's sort of built into this game, whether it's fair or not. There it is. And we have very low human development right now. Non-existent. We are cavemen in Egypt. Practically. For all intents and purposes. Whatever, it's leading to a really high religious membership. Let's just make sure that as our human development improves, we start funneling some money into things like school prayers and stuff to increase our membership. But for now, I think we're okay. So why don't we look toward improving the economy a little bit more instead? I think I saw technology colleges in here a minute ago. Yeah, technology colleges is pretty good. It's a lot like the technology grants. It's a little bit cheaper. Socialists don't like it and the quality goes down, but we got the egalitarian society, so it can't be that bad. Education and technology go up and state employees like it. It does cost us a little bit of money. I think we can probably handle it. Why don't we look at doing... Oh, boy. Why don't we look at doing... Well, here's the good thing about school prayers is that they're free. I like free. Free is good. State religion. No, we're not going to do that yet. Eventually we will, but not yet. You know one thing we could do? Because we're starting to run a deficit right now. One thing we could do is pass a new tax, and I'm thinking about the flat income tax. What It would cost me 43 political capital, potentially could raise me up to $309 billion, which is a lot of money, in case you were wondering. Sorry, not dollars, pounds, Egyptian pounds, whatever. Yes, let's do this. Okay, obviously we're not going to have a 46% one, though that would raise me a lot of money. We're going to make it a little bit lower. Let's say, like, I don't know, we'll figure that out. So what is the flat income tax? I've actually seen a couple of people requesting that I use this, or at the very least just asking questions on what the flat income tax does in this game. Because, you know, for some people this is actually something people are curious about in the real world. Some people have proposed a flat tax in the United States and other places as well. What is the flat income tax? Basically, the idea behind that is everyone, no matter what your income level, pays the same rate in taxes. So as a result, the cleaner in the office pays the same rate as the CEO, though the CEO's total tax bill will be higher. So if I set it as a 5% flat income tax, then the poor cleaner will have to pay 5% of his income in taxes. The CEO will have to pay 5% of his income in taxes. The difference is the CEO makes so much money that his overall bill will be significantly higher, but nonetheless, it's fair because everyone pays the exact same rate. This simpler structure can lead to lower avoidance and evasion. It is not progressive and can exacerbate income inequality. I don't know. The flat income tax is interesting, in theory. I'm not necessarily saying that I quite support it, and that's because there actually is a good argument for a progressive income tax instead of a flat income tax. And I say this even as a free market capitalist myself. Here's the thing that I find attractive about the flat income tax. It's fair, right? Literally, it is 100% fair. You treat everyone exactly the same. It doesn't matter how much money you made. It doesn't matter if you're poor. It doesn't matter if you're rich. We don't discriminate. We do not discriminate based on your wealth, all right? You pay exactly the same rate regardless of your circumstances, and that is a fair thing, right? The problem is the progressive income tax is inherently not fair, and we do that on purpose. You know, I've actually heard some socialists come to me and say, no, progressive tax is fair because the wealthy deserve to pay a higher rate. No, that's literally unfair. The moment you're discriminating against somebody else, that's not fair. The only way you can justify that position is if you believe that somehow the wealthy man stole something from other people and you're trying to fix the problem, which is not really factually based upon, especially in a capitalist society where everyone is in voluntary transactions. So that's not really a fair position in my opinion. But either way, so it's not fair, but is that unfairness a good thing? And the idea behind the progressive income tax is that a 5% rate, all right, let's suppose this 5%. 5% to a wealthy man, nothing. He will survive just fine. If he's making like $20 million a year, he can pay 5% taxes. It doesn't even matter. All right, because he'll have so much money, he can have all of his needs met, he can go and still buy a whole bunch of luxuries, he'll be just fine. Whereas the person who is in poverty making like $20,000 a year, that 5% matters to them. That 5% could mean, you know, food on the table or a bill payment or a debt. You know, like those things matter to the lower income classes, whereas they don't for the rich. So the idea behind the progressive income tax is literally to be unfair and to skew the system, but to do so with good intentions of helping the poor because they need the help the most, whereas the wealthy don't. That's the idea behind the progressive income tax, as opposed to, but again, it's not fair. And for those of you who are like me who have a justice complex, that's a problem. But at the same time, there's a logic behind it. So I don't know. I'm not necessarily sure I'm in favor of a flat income tax. I'm certainly in favor of taxation that is flatter than what we have right now in the US. And I have a lot of reasons behind that. You guys know that I'm a free market capitalist, which, by the way, is not a corporatist. Okay, I've had people get mad at me for saying I'm a capitalist. I'm not a crony capitalist. I'm not a corporatist. I'm a free market capitalist, which is not inherently pro-business or pro-employee. It is intended to basically just have as much freedom as possible and trust people to live their lives properly. That's it in a nutshell. And I think that free market capitalism is not only the most effective economic system that has ever existed in the history of mankind, but also I think it is the most compassionate in the sense that it has provided immeasurable opportunity to even people at the lowest possible levels to make something better of their life and to raise themselves up out of poverty and to have that human dignity, as opposed to depending upon the government for the handouts and redistribution of wealth. I think that's a more compassionate system, and I think that history has shown that fine, because if you look at any historically socialist or communist nations, real ones, I'm not talking like European democratic socialism, because they're not quite there yet, but actual socialist nations, don't try to tell me that those people have been better off. Look at the United States, where you had actual freedom, and see how well the average citizen is doing in the United States as opposed to anyone in those kind of nations. All right? Look at North Korea, which is supposed to have, like, actual communism, you know, which is, I mean, it's really more of a dictatorship, but either way, that's supposed to actually control every facet of the economy and be completely government-run, and their people are doing horribly, as opposed to look at the freedom of the United States, and even our poorest are the envy of the world, because they still are doing far, far richer than, well, like, two-thirds of the world. So, you know, I think that more or less speaks for itself. But I'm getting kind of off track. Anyway, I'm not sure that I'm in favor of a flat income tax. It makes sense for a fairness perspective, but I think there is some value to the idea behind the progressive tax. Whatever. I've talked for too much. Let's go ahead and start doing some stuff in the game. Do I want 15%? 20%? Maybe 20%. It doesn't seem to have much impact on... Well, first off, the wealthy don't seem to care much at all. The poor care a lot, though. Holy crap. Okay, the poor and the middle class really do not like a flat income tax. Equality, but the thing is, none of this impacts the GDP. See, that's one of the great things about the flat income tax, is because it's so fair, like, it actually does encourage that economic growth, whereas the progressive tax actually has a negative impact on the GDP. This, not so much. I think 20% is pretty reasonable. 69 billion pounds per quarter can do a lot for us. Yeah, let's take a look at that income tax real quick. You know what? I am wrong. I take that back. It actually does not impact the GDP in this game at all. That's interesting. All right, I stand corrected. I misremembered that. I do think it's interesting, however, that the poor are literally paying a higher rate than the wealthy in this. Now, that doesn't make sense. Huh. I guess they're trying to make the argument that it's flat, but the rich have more tax exemptions or something. I don't know. Interesting. Not really sure why. The point is, though, I'm a dictator and I don't give a crap. I'm going to make money. I'm going to make a heck of a lot of money. Let's see what else I can do. I care a lot about my infrastructure. Why don't we do the telecommuting initiative? It's pretty cheap. We can afford it because we have a new tax. This should get us a bit more infrastructure. Overall, that will be a good thing for us. How about what? Let's do the National Business Council. Again, pretty cheap. Reduces socialism membership. Don't care. GDP goes up, though. I care far more about that than I do about who's capitalist and who's socialist. I will do what I want, regardless of your economic views in this game. All right? Dictators have all the power. That's literally why we're called dictators. We dictate. Okay, what else do I care about? How about health? Healthy things are good. Health food subsidies? Absolutely. Reduces our obesity quite a bit and improves our health. In fact, it's a very, very cost-effective way to improve our health by 7.55% rather than spend that money in state healthcare. For example, if I went to state healthcare and I wanted to increase it by, 7%? So the health currently is at 14.1%. If I wanted to increase it by more than that, how about this? That's too much. About here. So 54.7 billion as opposed, yeah. So we would be spending somewhere on the order of like 20 billion pounds per quarter to increase our health by the same amount as the 400 million pound health food subsidies. So yeah, that's much better. That is not the button I meant to click. No, that's not the button I meant to click either. Policies, there we go. What about compulsory school sports? This is good. Reduces obesity, increases health. And along the same lines, why don't we do a healthy eating campaign? Does the same thing. Health and obesity. I like that. What about, I don't care about keeping the country tidy. Oh, sure I do. Fine, let's keep the country tidy. It improves the environment. Little bit by little bit, everything counts, right? All right, let's move on to the next turn. Sorry I talked so long on that. It's interesting because I've been talking with people a lot about tax policy lately, not just a couple of commenters, and I know I have some democratic socialist people who watch this stuff. I think that capitalism gets a bad rap these days. People don't understand what capitalism is really supposed to be, because we all know what crony capitalism is and how that is a terrible system. And I would agree with you. I am not for that at all. So I often feel compelled to talk a little bit about capitalism, what it's supposed to be, and kind of defend it. But I know I have some democratic socialists, and they'll disagree with me on my tax policy stuff and what I've just said, and okay, that's fine. I mean, I think we found some common ground. I even said that the progressive tax rate could be good. But, you know, I mean, we'll disagree, and that's fine. I'm happy to have those discussions. Maybe not over YouTube, but I'm happy to have those discussions. Children's food. A law has been proposed to regulate the fat content and nutritional value of food sold to children, including food sold in fast food restaurants and, of course, food served in schools. This is likely to incur costs for the food retailer. So do we leave the law unchanged because you cannot interfere with a free market? Or do we regulate children's food because it impacts their health? So upset capitalists in order to improve health? Yeah, I'm a dictator. I don't care what capitalists think. You'll do what I say. And in this case, I think that healthy children are happy children. So yes, we will do that. Unemployment is going down, but it is still quite high. That is upsetting. We do need to be concerned about things like that. All right, fine. You know what? Along similar lines, why don't we go ahead and tell you to also, you have to farm organically. There you go. Organic food farming subsidies. I can't talk. I'm getting tired. Obesity goes down even more. And as well as health. Health goes up. It's 4.43 billion, so it's a bit more expensive, but health does go up by almost 7%. Obesity goes down, which is good. Environmentalists love it, even though it doesn't improve the environment. The rural people love it as well. It's fine with me. I mean, why not make some people happy, right? Seems perfectly fine. All right. We got a little bit more power to spend before we end this video. Anything else involving health that I care about? What about education? What's this? Religious Rest Day. Oh, that's interesting. So this is not the Sabbath or like a Sunday, banned Sunday shopping. I think that's what it used to be called. Now it's Religious Rest Day because we're in Africa and there are actually there's a bit more variety in the religions than there are in the Western nations. So yeah, most organized religions recognize one day of the week as a day of rest. I don't think we want to pass this because it tends to be pretty bad for the economy, I think. But there it is, and that's interesting. Financial services regulation? No. I actually don't know what this does, which is interesting. Trade Council? Sure, Trade Council sounds pretty good. Improves our foreign relations, which is important for us, and as well as our international trade. In fact, isn't there also some like compulsory... Yeah, there we go. Compulsory foreign language classes does the same sort of thing and also reduces our racial tension just a wee little bit. Just a tiny little bit. What else do we want? Do I need more money? No, I don't need more money. I'm fine. Public libraries? Yes, public libraries are good. Costs a bit of money. Education goes up. Quality goes up. We have a surplus. We're fine. We will also legalize prostitution. No, we won't do that. I'm kidding. Anti-corruption agency. What does this do? I don't know what this does. We're going to try it. It reduces corruption a lot, but it upsets state employees. I don't care. State employees, you will do as I say because you work for me. And I am the dictator. So screw you, man. But corruption should go down a lot. So let's take a look at corruption. Where are you? There you are. Corruption is pretty high. It should start plummeting now. Police force is still implementing, and now the anti-corruption agency. So yeah, corruption should go down quite a bit. That's going to be good. It's going to be very good for our stability. I like it. All right. We should also do... what? No. This would be expensive, but it's a good way to do some education. But I don't care about the capitalism so much. Compulsory food labeling? Capital equipment subsidies is expensive as hell. This investment would be a crucial step in transitioning away from an agricultural-based economy. Let's try it. I'm not going to max it out because it's too expensive. It increases urbanism, it reduces unemployment, it improves the GDP surprisingly, and foreign investment goes up as well. It's just so expensive is the problem. Can I afford to spend, like, let's say, 16 billion? I don't feel like that's actually that good. The only reason I picked this up just now is because I believe I saw a comment in a previous video that said you should try the capital equipment subsidies. The problem with that is, I'm spending 16 billion to get only a 2% improvement in the GDP. That's nothing. Yeah, it's not that good. Wow, you have to pay 6 billion no matter what. We might as well get something out of it. Alright, let's try 14 billion. Yeah, I regret this one. This one's probably not worth it. But you know what? You try things once in a while. You gotta try new things if you want to find out what's awesome and what's not. And now we know that I do not think that that is awesome. I really don't. I think you could do that in conjunction with something like a 100% flat income tax, make $310 billion, right? And then spend all of it on capital equipment subsidies. That would be a way to do things. But I don't think I want to do that. Oh well. Alright, well I think we are going to have to end this video there though, so thank you guys for watching. This has been Pravus with Democracy 3 Africa. If you enjoyed this video, then be sure to hit that like button, leave a comment with your suggestions, and of course subscribe for my future content. And I, as always, will see you guys next time.